Don't worry, everything's fine. That's the title of the latest album from Australian singer-songwriter Matt Corby. Matt will be in New Zealand for shows in Wellington and Auckland at the start of December, but here he is now to tell us what to expect.
Our miseducation has taught us to close our eyes.
I'll be playing a bunch of tracks from the record and a few golden oldies, and that's pretty much it. We've got a full band and crew, and it should be a good night. I mean, yeah, we've been playing a lot around the world this last
I see
year.
that you were just in the U.S. and Canada and Europe, so
yeah,
those shows go well, do they?
Yeah, and we've had a few runs on the board, so we're feeling pretty confident, which is good. Yeah.
Because so you must have had a break, as everyone has, and especially after the flooding thing happened. So what did you have to do to kind of get up to speed again?
I mean, yeah, it was a difficult period. I think a lot of musos went into their sort of creative hibernation because they were sort of forced into it.
Right.
I worked on this record. I didn't spend too long on it. I probably only spent 6 weeks writing and recording. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it was, to be honest, it was tough. It was tough for finances. It was tough, for the whole live touring industry.
Yep.
So I'm glad that I've put this music out and that I can tour again and get some work. And I've been doubling up as a producer as well, working for other people, which I really enjoy. And yeah, it's been keeping me busy, keeping me sort of creatively stimulated, which is good. So yeah, but it's an interesting period.
Right.
Sort of post-COVID. Yeah.
So when you're out there, does it feel different when you're out on the road and touring than it did? Do you think in terms of pre and post, or is it just kind of picking up where you left off?
I think the weirdness is falling away, but it did feel odd just because it had been so long.
Right.
Yeah, I think people are still quite hesitant too, depending on where you are. There's probably always this thing in the back of their mind. Of just being in large groups, and it's probably more so like subconscious at this point than it is. People are, I can't go out, but I think we're slowly returning back to normal, which is good. Probably just with slightly more germophobic awareness.
Right, gotcha. And you mentioned you're busy doing production work as well as your own. So you run your own label now. You have a studio. You're doing this. So were you doing all that before everything happened, or is this kind of a result of that?
I was doing a lot of production work, or I've been learning. I feel like I've been teaching myself production for the last, I don't know, 7-8 years.
Right.
Only really putting it into, doing proper sessions with proper artists probably the last sort of 4 years. And when COVID hit, I was kind of at the end of an album cycle anyway, and saved up a bunch of money to build this studio. So I had a very DIY kind of, studio before this, and this place, as you can see.
Yep, looks like a studio.
Tis a studio. And yeah, since it's been built, there's been lots of great opportunity, and the label was one of those sort of strange opportunities that came from it. So I just thought, it would be great to try and start something up to help out a bunch of young artists and see if I can, create something beautiful with a few people. And we've just really started. We only have a couple of acts on the label, and if we survive, that would be great. A lot of labels don't.
Right.
And
well, I mean, I think you're heading in the right direction. People are kind of shying away from big labels. I mean, the way the business works is very different than it was 10, 15 years ago even. So
very much so. Yeah.
Probably what needs to be done. And you're finding, how do you go out and look for new talent?
Yeah, I mean, there's, you know, the internet is very revealing, but it's not, it's also very deceptive.
Right?
There's most of the artists that we have found from, but it hasn't been from like looking at TikTok or something.
Yeah.
They've actually been, bands or artists that have approached us, wanted to talk, and we've vetted them in the studio. We've gone to see them play, and a lot of these artists have put in a lot of hard work as live performers, which is, another skill and another muscle that needs developing. And
Right.
yeah, it's tricky though. It's hard to, it's I think a lot of people think that they can get a quick win just by posting a bunch of stuff online, and
Right.
then they get on stage and they're sort of, feel like they haven't done the work. And
Yeah. So what do you look for when you see somebody and they're kind of auditioning for you, for lack of a better word?
I think there's lots of different things, in a recording artist, you want to look for someone that's got a lot of good creative instincts, someone that has a lot of musicality, even if they don't have to be the most intellectual, technical musician, but they just need to have feel, and they need to have their own sort of energy and attitude in the way that they create. And that's something that you can feel quite quickly. And then, their ability to hold their own when the pressure's on, um, and also just something that's different, something that when you see it, you're like, oh, that's so uniquely them.
Yep.
Let's try and get all of what is them to the forefront, and see if people resonate with it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're 3 albums into your own thing. Did you have any experiences starting out that you can kind of draw on and relate to these up and comers and kind of use as a learning tool?
I think so. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty straight up about how things are difficult and how the industry can throw you around a bit. I try and keep expectations, pretty straight, and not like, you're gonna be a big star, kid. It's like
Yep. Yep.
it. So I mean, being in the music industry is tough, and I think there's more disappointments than there are wins.
Sure.
Um, and I've experienced plenty. So I mean, really, I just try and tell everyone, stick to your craft, and develop that to the nth degree, and I think that's your best chance to succeed. So
Right. So when you look at what you did with Everything's Fine, do you look at that as a progression from the previous record, which was 5 years previous?
I mean, yeah, it depends on what you mean by progression. Like, I think I every time I get in the studio to make something for me, I have no idea what I'm fucking doing.
Right.
And I kind of like that in a way. I feel like I'm always trying to reinvent some part of what I do, or it's the way that I play, or the way that I want to write songs. And um, even if it doesn't seem that different to anyone else, for me, I'm definitely not resting on, or some sort of template or format that I've worked off before.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think I'm always upskilling in a
Right.
lot of areas, and I'm trying my best to do that. So I would hope that it's a progression. But I mean, again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So it's, who knows? Music's funny like that. It's not really, it has nothing to do with the creator after it's created. It's,
I understand. Yeah, you put it
yeah,
out there and it's everybody else's, right? You
yeah,
have to
exactly.
let it go, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when you've been out on tour and you've been playing these songs, these new songs, what kind of interactions do you have with folks who may have a different way of looking at the songs than you do?
I really enjoy those moments. The last couple of shows that I played, or the last couple of tours that I played, if ever I do get an opportunity to speak to people afterwards, um, it feels really beautiful. Like there's been, lots of people that have been listening to what I do for a long time and that appreciate the progression of the music. And weirdly that, I mean, well, I think it would make anyone feel really good, but it's shocked me in the last couple of runs how many people have been listening for such a long time, and a lot of people, not to sound weirdly like I'm tooting my own horn, but
That's what you're here
I felt
for. I
like
hate
they
to
were.
admit it.
No, I felt like they were genuinely affected in a positive way
Sure.
by something that I'd done, and that makes it all worth it. Really, it makes it feel like I have some purpose
Yep.
in life, and yeah. So I've been really enjoying those moments and trying to take them in and trying to accept what people are saying to me. And I used to be like, oh, thanks, no, it's terrible, whatever,
Right.
try and
Yep. All
so
self-deprecating and stuff.
yeah, but I've stopped doing that as much, and I just just stand there and say, oh, that means a lot, thank you very much.
Right.
And
And do you have
it
any
really
artists
does.
when you were kind of growing up or getting interested in music that you had that a similar relationship from the other side that you got a chance to meet with and say, hey, thank you very much?
That's interesting. I mean, I don't think I would have met any of them.
Right.
Um, but I've always been a huge fan of music. So there's countless bands, countless artists that I've, totally fallen in love with and thought that they were really innovative and, were connecting with people through their sort of emotional
Yeah.
core, with music. So yeah, no, no, I'm probably glad I haven't met them.
Right. Probably. Yeah, fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
And when you were making the record, I see you worked with a couple of guys, Chris Collins and Nat Dunn. So
Yeah.
they mostly co-wrote and co-produced. And
Yep.
why them? What about them made you want to spend so much time with them creating?
Well, Nat is like an exceptional writer.
Right.
Chris is as well, don't get me wrong. But
No,
I
I would
mean,
not.
Nat's spent years and years perfecting that side of it. She's also an incredible singer, but and has her own musical projects and stuff. But I wanted to get someone that was a genuine kind of LA songwriting big dog into the studio,
Okay.
and that was Nat. And we connected straight away on a friendship level and on a musical level. And she's like, I see her like a sister now. We've spent a lot of time together, and
Right.
I just value her ability and the way that she can dissect even our conversations and start to turn them into, you know, some form of weirdly profound lyrical content. And Chris is similar to that, but on a straight up musical production level.
Gotcha.
He has been absolutely slogging it as a producer for more than a decade, way more than a decade, and made a lot of really brilliant records. And he's from where I grew up in the south of Sydney, and he just moved up to the Northern Rivers, like right as I was about to start working on the record,
Right.
and was living 10 minutes down the road from me. And I gave him a call and I was like, let's go surfing, let's hang out. And he came into the studio and we made one of the tracks for the record quite quickly, just for fun.
Right.
And then I said to him, I was like, why don't you come by once a month? Let's just experiment with sounds and songs. And then when it came time for me to be like, all right, let's all get together and work on the record, I put him and Nat together, and
Yep.
we all in a concentrated dose just smashed out as many songs as we could, and just to pick the best of a bad bunch.
See, you're doing it now. You're bad.
Yeah.
And I see you have Nat accredited as a vocal producer as well.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
She, because she's such a great, and I think I get a bit twisted when it comes time to doing vocals. I'm predominantly, I think I'm first and foremost a vocalist, so
Huh?
I get a bit too particular and maybe a bit wound up when it comes to getting things wrong or right in the studio, and it's good to have another set of ears on it. And that was Nat's role. She was there to tell me to stop or to tell me to keep going.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're cutting vocals, sometimes you'll do, you know, 25 takes of a song.
Yeah.
And then to comp all those takes together to create something that is the proper vocal performance, you know, me and her would go through it, and she just got good taste. So she would always be, you know, from a singer's perspective, picking, you know, the perfect combination of takes to throw into what the end result was. So
Right. Okay.
yeah.
And are you thinking ahead to the next record? Because I assume it's not
Yes.
another 5 years before.
No, hopefully not. No. I think now that I've got the studio in full swing,
Yeah.
I'm writing all the time, and I've got some pretty cool ideas for a couple more projects of mine, and trying to expand a little bit more with the sound, and you know, would be good to keep releasing music consistently as of now. So
I mean, it seems like just having the studio kind of motivates or inspires you to write more. But what else inspires you to write? Do you see things in the news, in the newspaper, people that you meet? What is it?
Yeah, I think all of the above. You know, that I think the way my brain works is that it's like it's absorbing as much as it can, and then when it comes time to regurgitate,
right,
especially in lyric world, I shock myself with what I've absorbed,
right,
and I'm not always like, you know, on the prowl for some lyrical philosophical content or anything. I think more when it's time to be in that concentrated moment of like, okay, we have chords, we have a beat, here's a melody, and how will I tell this story? My brain's like, well, you have the, like, in its filing system, it just goes, well, this is fucked and that's bad, and like, oh, remember, you're an asshole, and like, oh, you know, like this, you know, so you just start to take things and piece them all together. You know, it's kind of fun. Yeah, and I do shock myself with the things that I've picked up around me over the last however long. You know, it's funny. Yeah.
All right. I think you're covering no scrubs in most of your shows as well. My daughters are going to be thrilled about that. It's both.
Oh, great.
They're both adults. They're in their like 30s and 40s, but they love that song. Why did you? I know you did it for that Like a Virgin series. Was that your idea? Theirs? Somebody else's?
I don't want no scrub. Scrubs got a kink and love from me, hanging on the passenger side of his best friend's ride.
It was my idea. I think Triple J would have liked me to have done something more current.
Oh, come on.
But I actually used to, one of my best mates who played bass for me for a very long time. He's not the greatest singer in the world,
right.
And he would always, to be funny, get a guitar and play no scrubs.
Right.
And it would always make me laugh, because the way he delivers the song is borderline pretty bad.
Right.
And I randomly, when I was trying to go through all these covers to pick one, you know, for the most recent Like a Version, I just started laughing and playing it one day, and I was like, you know what, that's actually it'd probably be quite good.
Probably.
And I ended up using the chords to another song I'd written for Budra as the chord progression, and
right.
tried to flip it on its head slightly. So yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. We'll see you at the Powerstation when you get here, but I think we're running out of time. So you probably have billions of other folks to talk to, but thanks for spending time with me this morning, and good luck with everything.